Um, Preparing to live stream the meeting and momentarily we will be live. Yes, there we are.
We're live. Hi, Mom. We're live on YouTube.
We're live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube, and it has one like, which is me already. Now, so let me get this out of here and get back with the folks in this meeting. Let's see. I blew it. Where did I go? I can't find myself. That's interesting. Anyway, you all can hear me, and I can't see myself, but I hope I have a beautiful virtual screen to be able to introduce David Rovics to you all. Whenever David Rovics is in town, we drop everything and present him to you and to ourselves because of the depth of his commitment to social change and to the activist communities of which where he participates all over Europe and all over the United States. So folks, welcome to Community Church, and let's start our celebration today with David Rovics.
Well, I missed 3 May Days in a row that because of a pilot strike and 2 because of the pandemic. But I'm usually singing on May Day, and I wrote this love song for May Day a couple months ago, which they like. I've been singing it in Europe, even though I missed May Day, post May Day. But it's. Fifth month of the year, on the 1st of May, known around the world as International Workers' Day. You'll still see people marching every corner of the earth, St. John to Santiago, Kerala to Perth, all keeping alive the fantasy, what could happen down the line when the workers of the world combine. You can see us gathering early in the morn. Some are celebrating the shackles we have shorn, while so many billions are just waiting for the moment that we might stop losing the class war, when someday we can all say, yeah, we're doing fine, when the workers of the world combine. When that time arrives, maybe it looks like May Day, like a festival that comes home and doesn't go away. Every race and gender, every walk and station, with the working class united, every land and nation. And just watch what happens when we follow the same sign, when the workers of the world combine. Fifth month of the year, on the 1st of May, known around the world as International Workers' Day. Just turned down the guitar a little. It was a bit loud, sorry, but I think that it came through okay.
Thank you, David. That's beautiful. Well, here we have a candle, and we have José Alemán with us today, and the two of us are going to light this candle for two celebrations.
Hi,
Jose, welcome to Community Church. Jose, he's
Jose.
our new board member for 2021. And it just so happens that I still have a whole pile of books by Eduardo Galeano that I took
my
to,
favorite
to
author.
Jose's classroom. And we did both Spanish and English readings of some Jose Galeano excerpts that are so fabulous. So we light this candle. Jose, tell me what you light it for.
Yes, I have a special thought dedicated to the Honduran people because last Sunday, a week from today,
Yeah.
Honduras took a
Election.
strong step, the firm step of electing the first woman from the left, the center left. Her name is Xiomara Castro de Celaya, 63-year-old, not new in politics. She is the wife of the former president of Honduras,
I didn't
who
know
was
that.
deposed.
Yeah.
Zelaya.
Why?
I didn't know her last name, Zelaya. I only knew
Yes.
Castro. They never mentioned the Zelaya part.
Yes.
Right.
And so for the Honduran people, for my brothers and sisters, my friends, who at this point are in Chelsea in a caravan of joy, commemorating this event. Why? Because Honduras, as you know, is a place that has been, a Central American place that has been in the news for so long. Last year, 2 hurricanes hit the country, and migration has been never ending. For all the Hondurans who are leaving Honduras, but for all the Hondurans who are staying and entering this new age for Honduras, let's lit this candle in hopes that this time around the Honduran people and the new leadership of Honduras will find its way. And for the U.S. government not to touch the right of the Honduran people. So Honduras, this is for you.
Que viva Honduras!
Que viva!
Hey,
Que viva
viva.
Honduras!
Que viva!
All right. Que viva Honduras!
Que viva!
3 times. And so I want to add to that with another joy. And this is a little damper on the joy. But I'll start by showing you some parking tickets. When you work in Copley Square and you have to drive here for various reasons, you get parking tickets. And you know what I do with them? I pay them. And especially now, you know why? Because just as Jose, I'm celebrating Michelle Wu. This is just a wonderful thing that we have a mayor like that. She is from our neighborhood, and we know her well, and she is so unpolitician-like, and she is the mayor of this city, and it's a wonderful moment for the city of Boston. So I'm glad to help pay her salary, is what I say about these parking tickets. I'm overjoyed that this wonderful, just unpolitician-like leader is at the helm of this city. And I have a little reading, which you hear a lot at this time of the year. And it mostly is talking about God and the prophecies about God. But in this context, I want to dedicate it to Michelle Wu. And it's from Isaiah 9:11. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwelt in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. For unto us a child is born, unto us a daughter is given, and the government shall be upon her shoulder, and her name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Princess of Peace, and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon her, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, and the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, or of the voters, how about? With righteousness shall be the judge, shall she judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And the righteousness shall be the girdle of her loins, and the faithfulness the girdle of her reins. And the wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them. So that's the dedication.
Viva Michelle Wu!
Viva Michelle Wu!
Viva Michelle Wu!
Woo, woo,
Viva
woo, woo.
Michelle Wu. Woo,
I
woo,
don't
yes.
want to,
It's a
I
perfect
don't
cheer.
want to leave that candle going, because there's a lot of flammable things, and I want to show you. I want to show you some of them that are nearby that are not going to get on fire. As soon as I can spotlight. Oh, oops. Sorry about this. There we go. And we're going to spotlight this, and we're going to walk you around the. There, are we replaced? Spotlight. I'm going to walk you around our auditorium and show you a few things. That, of course, is the Sacco and Vanzetti plaque. And the in front, there's a bit of an altar still from Bob Datilio's memorial. He was the scholar of the Sacco and Vanzetti case, non-pariah like none other. We also have just recently, in the last 2 weeks, taken possession of Bob Datilio's entire, not only manuscript and research collection, but his voluminous amount of books. Some of them are down in the auditorium here, and they're for sale. They're sort of the first ones we determined are not for our own library and are not for the Boston Public Library or the Labadie Archive of Anarchism at UMass, at U Michigan. We have a lot of books, and I want to invite you to come down here for a personal tour of not only the books, but I'll show you some other stuff that there is. These are all crafts items from El Salvador. The relative unuse of this auditorium has made us want to repeat what we did last year quite successfully, which is have Zoom bazaars. We're going to have every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. You can get onto this same link, and we will be giving you a tour of different items from a village called Teocinte in El Salvador. Here's a tote bag. Have a look at the beautiful tote bag. It's cloth from Guatemala. I want to show you the best seller so far of our Zoom bags is this wonderful gift, oven mitt. Oven mitt. We have them for left-handed and for right-handed cooks. We also have coffee from the same area of El Salvador, fresh roasted, beautiful gift for anybody on your list who is a coffee drinker. And that's about, 90% of the people. And we also have over there a bunch of embroidered shirts, embroidered in El Higueral by a woman named Ilda and her 3 daughters. And so there you have it, just a quick little tour of the auditorium. Lots of stuff happening, and I want to show you also a few books. I'm going to re-spotlight this screen. Here's a book. I just grabbed a few off the table. A book by Upton Sinclair that's called Oil. Bob Datilio is very interested in Upton Sinclair, including the book Boston. There's like 5 or 6 copies. It's a novel about Sacco and Vanzetti, who are sort of patron saints they're built into the DNA of Community Church of Boston. The other one to talk about besides Sacco and Vanzetti, just tons of materials, is this other obsession of Bob Datilio's. Her name was Tina Modotti, photographer, Italian photographer. First stardom was in silent movies in Los Angeles. She then took up with Edward Weston, the photographer, and they went to Mexico. and as his assistant, she became his peer, and is an amazing photographer in short life and documenter of the early Mexican Revolution. We have tons and tons of book and research about Tina Modotti. It's a marvelous thing. I'll just show you some, a few just incredible use, black and white and light and shadow, and it goes on and on, just beautiful. These are little books. There's a whole bunch of volumes of her work. Of course, I think the very best one. I'll be right back, okay? Here it is. For Bob's memorial, we printed out a big one of that. It's a big Mexican zapata campesino hat with a kuma, or a cuchillo, whatever it's called, and a sledgehammer. It's just such a great image. I don't know if we have Danny with us yet. Danny, are you with us? This event might not be Danny, and I hope that you don't leave because of that, because I haven't been able to connect with him today. Maybe he got the date wrong. Maybe he's like me, you know, just spaced it out or something. But that's fine. You know, we have y'all, and we also have David Rovics with us, and he's such a treasure trove of songs. I was thinking back 20 years. David wrote a song about Afghanistan, which was going to be the topic for this morning, and will be when we are able to connect with Danny, Major Daniel Sjursen. And I remember this one song that was the first line is, "I saw the plane hit the building," and the last line is about the firefighters of Kabul. David, I'm sure you remember that song, but I just want to hand it back over to David and take it away, David. How about with a couple of songs?
Sure thing. But since you mentioned that song, let's see. I think I can find it. I sang this song so much in around 2002, I got tired of singing it. I saw the plane hit the building, the flames and the billowing smoke. I saw the glass, metal, paper, and stone. Everything shattered and broke. I was there with my people, Engine Company 24. We rushed into the building, got as far as the 35th floor. Black smoke and the heat was like nothing I'd seen in all of my years. With each step in that blazing inferno, you could feel destiny near. In the midst of the falling girders, the sheetrock and God knows what else, I tried to find the survivors those who made it to the stairwells. I carried the wounded to safety, if that's what you might call the street, with bodies and boulders and metal all crashing down at your feet. As number 2 was collapsing, when only 10 floors still stood, everything was falling around me like it was made out of cardboard and wood. It was then that I heard someone trapped underneath the debris. I started pulling at something. That's when the fire got me. I was pinned neath the rubble. The flames were licking my coat. The pain, the unbearable agony. Then that was all that she wrote. I just wish I could tell you before I am taken away that I've seen a lot of this world, and there's something that I gotta say. I don't believe in politics, I believe in the human race. I believe in the goodness of people in New York or some faraway place. I believe in my daughter, I believe in my wife, and may nobody's father be taken to avenge the loss of my life. People may call me a brave man, and this may very well be, but the firefighters of Kabul are just as brave men as me.
Thank you, David. I hope I didn't put you on the spot
Oh, no.
with a request like that, and just such a beautiful performance of that just incredible song. So
Thank you.
go ahead, David.
Oh, that was a good suggestion. It was really, I mean, singing that song in 2002 was such a different thing than singing it, just a little bit later, once the world had been so thoroughly propagandized about everything having to do with 9/11 that you couldn't even elicit a little bit of sympathy for the first half of the song. I mean, it was just, people were so tired of hearing about it. But songs weren't meant to last forever necessarily. Some of them are just good for breakfast. This one's more longer term, it seems. My name is John Reilly. I'll have your ear only a while. I left my dear home in Ireland. It was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go. Enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico. And it was there in the pueblos and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of a conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. And in the midst of these poor dying Catholics, screaming children, the burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to rise to the call. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We marched neath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Erin Golbra. bright with the harp and the shamrock, and Libertad per Republica. Just 50 years after Wolf Tone, 5,000 miles away, the Yanks called us a legion of strangers, and they can talk as they may. But from Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. Fought them in 5 major battles. Churubusco was the last. Overwhelmed by the cannons from Boston, we fell after each mortar blast. Most of us died on that hillside in the service of the Mexican state. So far from our occupied homeland, we were heroes and victims of fate. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side.
Thank you, David.
My pleasure.
Maybe I'll make a couple announcements and do a reading, and we'll hear from David again. And first of all, there's some cool stuff in the chat. Brad Wolf from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Thank you, Brad, for being with us. Kevin Murray, my friend from Roslindale. Que viva Michelle Wu y el transporte gratuito. I think transporte would be masculine, not feminine, Kevin, but that's a tiny minor point. Long live Michelle Wu and free transportation. Viva
I
Michelle
made the
Wu.
mistake with the lyrics to that last song. I won't mention the Spanish language mistake I originally made in the little yeah, it was really embarrassing though. Now I got a correct little Spanish phrase.
Joe Ramsey. Hi, Joe. I hope we get to hear some more from you.
Yes, Professor
Joe
Ramsey, everybody should join his group, whatever group he's forming. Everybody in Boston should join it. And then
Shelter and Solidarity. We
Yeah,
are,
that
by
one.
the way, I'll mention co-hosting a program with Shelter and Solidarity next week. Her name is Sophie Lewis, and she's an eminent young feminist. And it's going to be really fun to do that. And Joe says it would be good to convene discussions of how progressives and the left in the city can try to make the most of the opportunities created by new openings under the Wu administration.
Yes.
And it also has a link to our own Sjursen Mudliar's interview with Michelle Wu before the election. And maybe I should have taped my interview with her. She was around the farmer's market a lot where in the summer, you know, she lives in Roslindale, just a few blocks away, and I spend Saturdays at the farmer's market, and she was there campaigning, and she's just incredibly personable, and as are her staff. Joan Livingston says, Honduras Libre. Applause, applause. Shelter and Solidarity's podcast is right there. Mr. Rovics, your lyrics are timelessly inspiring. They will outlive all of us. Onward with your truth. So I want to just read a couple of things. Here's another little pamphlet. There's tons of these. This is called The Story of a Proletarian Life, and it's from 1923. while Sacco and Vanzetti were still alive, and it's by Bartolomeo Vanzetti, and it's translated from the Italian. And there's a bunch of these upstairs, along with all kinds of other materials of all sorts. On the front of it, you might have heard this quote from Vanzetti: if it had not been for these things, I might have lived out my life talking at street corners to scorning men. I might have died unmarked, unknown, a failure. Now we are not a failure. This is our career and our triumph. Never in our full life could we hope to do such work for tolerance, for justice, spelled Joostice, for man's understanding of man, and as now we do by accident. Our words, our lives, our pains, nothing. The taking of our lives, lives of good shoemaker and the poor fish peddler, all. That last moment belongs to us. That agony is our triumph. Bartolomeo Vanzetti. Here's my list of announcements. First of all, I don't know if Virginia Pratt is with us, but I want to praise Virginia. Yeah. Oh, let me. I'm not spotlighted, says José. Okay, here we go. Virginia sends out an annual letter, just a holiday letter, and it comes like around the 4th or 3rd of December, and she just puts us all to shame with how disciplined she is about it. It's just always such a wonderful letter about progress and about setbacks and about everything in her life, her pets, her walks, and her best concerts and best books that she read. It's great. Thank you, Virginia. You are my hero. And I want to tell you about Winter Fridays that start this Friday. I'm going to host from Community Church a Friday concert series that'll go all the way through the holidays. The first 2 concerts are Magpie this coming Friday. Our favorites here, we drop everything for them as well, and they just look so good and they sound so great, and they do a wonderful holiday concert, and they'll be with us this Friday. And the week after that, we have Bennett and Lorraine Hammond, who are also our stalwart favorites. And in both of these shows, I'll be doing a couple of songs as well. So join us. This is a benefit completely for the performers. They have suffered during this pandemic. They've lost their tours. They've lost their concerts, their income. And it's a benefit for them. I was able to persuade the board of the Community Church to come up with a certain amount to be able to offer a guarantee, and that was matched by my favorite benefactress, my mom. Thanks, Mom, for matching Community Church's benefit guarantee to these performers. We will also sell tickets on Eventbrite, and we will have a PayPal tip jar the night of the event. These are Friday nights at 7 p.m. every Friday all the way through January, February into March. It's quite a commitment of time, but I can hardly wait to start doing these events. It's a bunch of different friends of mine and some new people that you haven't heard of, like Danielle Miralia, a wonderful blues performer from this area, John and Rachel Nicholas, Susie Williams is a remarkable performer. She'll be with us twice with 2 different ensembles of her. She's from Los Angeles, from Venice, California. So Winter Fridays, look for that. Anything else? Oh, of course. Carolyn Poinelli, last week when we did not read the Gospel according to Eduardo Galeano, was very disappointed. So we have to remember to do that every week. And we will do that. I have not read today's entry, but here we go. Let's find it. This is from Eduardo Galeano, Children of the Days, for December, what is it, the 6th or the 5th? Hoy es el 6 o el 5? 5th, okay. That's a pretty long one, and I'm going to go to the next one, which is a little shorter. I don't want to hog this spotlight because even though our speaker is not with us, we have a bunch of people that I would love to hear from and make this just a wonderful round table or rectangular table of little rectangles on your screen. But here's December 6th, a lesson in theater. On this day in 1838, the House Committee on Un-American Activities operating out of Washington questioned Hallie Flanagan. Joe Starnes, a congressman from Alabama, led the interrogation. Referring to an article Hallie had written, he asked, "You are quoting from this Marlowe. Is he a communist?" "I am very sorry. I was quoting from Christopher Marlowe." "Tell us who Marlowe is so we can get the proper reference," said the Alabama senator. "He was the greatest dramatist in the period immediately preceding Shakespeare." "Of course, we had what some people call communists back in the days of the Greek theater." "Quite true. And I believe Mr. Euripides was guilty of teaching class consciousness, wasn't he?" "I believe that was alleged against all of the Greek dramatists." "So we cannot say when it began," sighed Congressman Starnes. "The Gospel according to Eduardo Galeano. Blessed be." I love adding little kind of religious gestures and whatnot. David,
Dean?
you got a song for us? I bet you do. You've written about 10,000 of them.
Yeah, it's still less than 1,000 at this point, but I'll do a song I just wrote last month, which is so I think this will technically be the debut. No, I did it in my living room a few days ago, actually. So second debut, but it's never been performed for an audience. But it's a live audience, that is, outside of Zoom. But I was just on tour in Europe, and which I came home just in time for the Omicron variant to hit. But it was a real disaster of a tour because of the pandemic, even without Omicron. But the best part was happening to be in London for the trial of Julian Assange, the extradition trial for in terms of whether the royal courts of justice in London are going to extradite him to the United States to face 175 years in prison for journalism. And of course, the context of the trial happening at the time was that it was all going on just about a week or two after a Yahoo News investigation, exhaustive investigation involving 30 former security officials from the CIA and other agencies, all corroborating their testimony to the investigators about how the United States was actively planning with the British secret police to extrajudicially assassinate Julian Assange on the streets of London, with British police firing any live rounds that were going to be fired by agreement between the Americans and the British. The British police would fire the live rounds, and the plan was to kill Julian Assange if the Russians were going to try to move him from the Ecuadorian embassy to their embassy, which was apparently suspected at some point. But So the question of extraditing someone to a country that has been planning to extrajudicially assassinate the man is it has not been considered by the court, and although it's obviously one of the many elephants in the living room, and Julian's partner and part of his legal team and brilliant activist, and Stella Morris, also the mother of their two children. Stella Morris, in all her talks in front of the royal courts, she was talking about the relevant comparison of Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi journalist working for the New York Times, who was extrajudicially killed by the Saudi authorities at the Saudi embassy in Turkey, and the question about whether Khashoggi would have been extradited by the British authorities had the Saudi government wanted him. Would they have just sent him, knowing what they know now? I'm hearing myself in your speaker, Dean, I think.
I know.
Or somebody's speaker. Somebody could mute, and it'll sound better. You were wanted by a nation not run by the rule of law. If senators and generals had so often made the call that he should be hit with a missile, if they had said that on TV, what would you expect from a legal authority? Asked to extradite him back to this country. If his name were Jamal Khashoggi, if he were wanted by a nation which had sent its spies to arrange a situation where he accidentally dies, if they had secretly listened in on all his conversations, if they had explicitly made plans for his assassination, would you write it off as just a strange conspiracy? If his name were Jamal Khashoggi, if he were wanted by a nation they so frequently condemn in human rights tribunals held at the UN for torturing their prisoners for the ways they are confined. If the state had a different name, would justice be so blind? Would your courts just hand him over, take him from his family? If his name were Jamal Khashoggi, he were wanted by a nation which committed the war crimes exposed by this reporter so many times, would you just take the word of the head of state who said he would be so happy to see a bullet in his head? If their main witness was coerced, would you send him to that country? If his name were Jamal Khashoggi, he were wanted by a nation that did all these things and more. If it were Iran or Russia, would you be keeping score? Would you trust their prosecutors, all the nice things that they say about their justice system before they take him away? What if his name were Julian? Would you send him across the sea? If his name were Jamal Khashoggi, if he were wanted by a nation not run by the rule of law, do another one. Somebody's mic is still on. I'm going to find out who it is. Let's see. Joan. Okay. Thank you. Much better. This is one of the songs I sang at the rally in the rallies in London. And of course, what Julian Assange is wanted for is for exposing war crimes, and war crimes committed by the United States and the United Kingdom and other countries. And and this is a song about a particular action in Australia. Of course, one of so many people who heard about the war crimes being committed by the United States that were exposed by WikiLeaks, and they took a little bit of action that many other people have taken. Similar circumstances around the U.S. and elsewhere. Needs to happen a lot more. I watched it on the TV. Machine guns fire towards the ground. watch the people run. Helicopter gunship strafing the street. Watch them lining up the bodies in the Baghdad heat. They say these leaks had consequences, and I must agree. When I saw them fire on the children, it affected me. I thought, what if I were wearing the other shoe? If I had a hammer, what would I do? I am just a person, like anyone. I am just another mother's son. I have no special powers. I cannot fly, not like that helicopter gunship up in the sky, sending all those bullets all around to the journalists and children on the ground. I am just one man, that's very true. But if I had a hammer, what would I do? Sometimes I try to wonder, why should I care? But then the answer seems so obvious. There are people down there. And right here in Queensland, there's an army base. And there's a helicopter gunship just sitting in place. There's a time for watching. There's a time to act. It's just gonna kill more children if it remains intact. I am just one person, but you are too. If you had a hammer, what would you do? If you had a hammer, what would you do? Thank you.
David, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I want to do a couple of things. One is just take a moment to recognize Danny Sjursen and this book that he wrote. It's called The True History of the United States. It's like 3 inches thick. I've read it cover to, no, I'm just kidding. I haven't, but I've looked at some excerpts, and I keep opening to just look, and the one that I opened to was a quote from a certain Woody Guthrie. Was a big high wall there that tried to stop me. A sign was painted, said private property, but on the back side it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. One bright sunny morning in the shadow of the steeple by the relief office I saw my people. As they stood hungry, I stood there wondering if this land was made for you and me. Politically radical verses from Woody Guthrie's 1940 version of This Land Is Your Land. And we will get Danny. The subtitle of the book is Indigenous Genocide, Racialized Slavery, Hypercapitalism, Militarist Imperialism, and Other Overlooked Aspects of American Exceptionalism. That's, and it has a recommendation from Chris Hedges on the front as well. Chris Hedges, who was here with us back in January. It's a remarkable young historian, taught at West Point for some time and is now writing books. He's written several books. Another recommendation from Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, the author of An Indigenous Peoples History of the United States. This book should go on, it will go on in our library right along with Howard Zinn's book. Howard Zinn, of course, who spoke at Community Church numerous times, and a certain project that keeps getting put on the back burner is for us to go through 40 years of cassettes that we have of recordings from Community Church and digitize all of the Howard's Inn and all the Noam Chomsky. There's also Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. The list is remarkable, and it goes on and on. Someday we will have the bandwidth to do that, but meanwhile we have the books of Robert Datilio that are almost choking us with their sheer volume. So I want to just give you a little tour of what's coming up at Community Church. I mentioned Sophie Lewis next week, and I will also mention Karin Klein, who's with us on this call, or at this service, whatever you call it, this forum. Karin Klein is a wonderful poet and interpretive dancer, and she will be with us next Sunday. Then we have, on the 19th, Reverend Irene Monroe. You might have heard her podcast. It's called All Revved Up. Reverend Irene Monroe and Reverend Emmett Price. They do a wonderful, just enthusiastic broadcast filled with both anger and gratitude about the American experience for African American people especially. That's their thing. Irene Monroe will be with us, and our pianist that day is named Beatrice Green, and she's one of our newest members to Community Church. She has been coming in regularly and rehearsing here, and it's a wonderful thing to hear her play, and she will join us with Irene Monroe that day. Then we go into January. We take one week off for holiday, and in January, Professor Jacques Pauwels from Canada. He's a Belgian man, but he lives in Canada, and his specialty is World War I. Of course, Community Church of Boston has its origins in the aftermath of World War I, and horror at the war profiteering and the horrors of the stupidity of that war. Jacques Pauwels will talk to us about that, and that was a suggestion, I believe, of Charlie Welch. And I would like to say to everybody that if you have suggestions for programs, get in touch. We'd love to consider it. We have a program committee that's doesn't meet fairly often, but we want to consider new ideas of what to have here. Let me go down the list. On January 9th, we have a young representative from the Sunrise Movement who will be with us. And this is a student at Tufts University. I forget his name. I don't have it on my calendar. And that day, the music is remarkable. His name is Steve Tilston, and he is from England. And he's just a remarkable guitar player and a songwriter rooted in English and British Isles traditions. Steve Tilson, very excited about that. The next week is Charles Coe. Charles Coe, poet and author that we've had a number of times before. The music that day is hip-hop artist Tem Blest from Western Massachusetts. The week after that, January 23rd, it's a young guide from Idaho. He's a river guide. Jennifer and I had the experience of our life. Jennifer, my wife, is about to retire. She has 13 days left of work at Children's Hospital, 37 years, and our celebration was a raft trip down the Salmon River, and it was beyond a remarkable experience. I would wish it for anybody. That was just an incredible trip. And we met Mark Martin, who one of the guides, and who gave a talk on the plight of the Salmon River salmon, the wild salmon, and their virtual extinction, but a few that still come and go through many dams along the Snake, the Columbia and the Snake, to get to the Salmon River. And his activism around removing 4 dams on the Salmon River. That should be a really interesting program. He's a really vibrant young activist and river guide. That's my little indulgence for myself, because about 30 years ago, I wrote a song called Salmon River that grew fins and has been recorded a number of times by several marvelous songwriters and performers, including one who I think is here from Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken, Evelyn Pinkerton. Professor Pinkerton might be on this call or might not. I'm not sure. Maybe I can't.
Yes, I am.
Hi, Evelyn Pinkerton. Welcome. And thank you for recording that song along with several others.
It's
So that's
one of my favorite songs.
January 23rd. Join us for Salmon River. Next, January 30th, from Crimea, Regis Tremblay, and from Maine, his buddy Bruce Gagnon. The two of them will co-lead a program for Community Church on March 30. That should be a wonderful program. Regis is a filmmaker, and he now lives in, is it Odessa, Crimea? The next one is Margaret Morganroth Goulet on February 6th, and the after that is a wonderful one. Also on the call today is Victor Wallace, talking about his mother, a marvelous artist of great renown. Victor, we just added that program. We're really looking forward to February 13th. February 20th, a murmuration of poets with David Goulet. That's the Goulet family month is February. David Goulet, who is one of the directors of Poets Theater, and he assembles poets for us to present here and other places. He brought us recently the poet, the Canadian poet Louise Half Sky Dancer, who is 2021 Poet Laureate of the country of Canada, and she spoke in October. The week after that, we have the W.E.B. Du Bois Address, and his name is Professor Tony Bogus. He's from Brown University. I think that's how you say his name, maybe Bogues, B-O-G-U-E-S. I'm looking forward to that as well. And after that, we have Alfred Brownell, professor and lawyer, winner of the Goldman Environmental Prize. Alfred is from Liberia, and he will be featuring Earth Defenders on that day. He is one of them. He risked his life, almost lost his life, defending rainforest against the predation of the palm oil plantations. And on that day, we will remember the likes of Berta Cáceres from Honduras, who was murdered near that date. So that's what we got coming up here. Lots of great stuff, and it goes on. One more I'll mention in March. March 13th is a new addition to our community. Her name is Ruth Kaplan, and she has been here for a couple years, retired, and taking care of a beautiful grandson. And she will be talking joining another presenter, and they'll be talking about public banking in Massachusetts. I'm interested in public banking, and I'm interested in federal public banking through the post office, which Elizabeth Warren, of course, has very much championed. So before maybe bringing David on again, I'd like to show you my two friends. This is the mama and this is the baby, and they're from Ilobasco. Ilobasco is another town in El Salvador that makes beautiful ceramic items. And so, David Rovics, how about one last song? This is maybe the moment when we do a little pitch for Community Church. We talk about how we are rich in real estate and pretty poor in cash, and we have a building that's in need of a lot of deferred maintenance, and we need your help all the time, every day. And we have online way that you can contribute. You can go to communitychurchofboston.org, And you can also put your credit card down there or put your PayPal down there. You can also send your check to our address, which is 565 Boylston Street, Boston, Copley Square, 02116. And Charlie will add those items in the chat. Thank you for years of incredible support and many very generous people who have kept this place alive. And so with that, I want to send it back to David, who very graciously said, Dean, I'll do as much music as you want or need. That's the kind of presenter we love to have. David, are you there?
I think David said he had to go in the chat box.
Oh.
So, yeah, earlier, about 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Well,
Did.
I want to open it up to anyone who would like to say hello. I see Joe Ramsey there, and Joe has hosted these Shelter in Solidarity meetings so beautifully, and we've co-hosted some things with them, with Joe. And next Sunday it will be Mark Soderstrom who will be having this conversation with Sophie Lewis, so let's open the floor. If you want to raise your hand, or I can scroll through and see, or just unmute and say hello to us. There's a bunch of you that I have never met before, and
Okay, Dean.
No, go ahead.
go ahead. Who's that?
It's Karen Klein.
Karen, welcome.
Yeah, I'm here. So I'm looking, if people want to hear a poem, like coming before next week.
Little
I'm looking to see a little preview. I don't do political poetry. I do more emotional, personal kind of thing. And so I'm looking for something that maybe very different from what you would normally hear.
That's what we want.
Okay, this is a poem whose title is Cracks, and that is taken from Leonard Cohen's now famous "There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." So this poem was first written a long time ago, like 20 years ago, the first part of it. And this is a short poem. They're both short. And the second one was written this year. And it's both about that sense that poets try to describe and put it in images of the feeling that you have a connection to the universe. It's not necessarily about God. It's not about ecology. It's not about spirit. It's the sense that there is a oneness among all of us that we can tune into when something happens that we see, and suddenly the world opens up. There's a crack in everything, and the light gets in. And you have this momentary, you can't call it forth. You can't sit there and say, I'm suddenly going to feel in tune with the universe. That is impossible. And if you say you can do it, it's really, you're fooling yourself and anybody else you claim. But sometimes it comes, I think C.S. Lewis described it as surprised by joy. The sudden sense that it's okay. And we've heard all these wonderful songs, and we know that there is so much now that's not okay. So I want to give you just something short that was two experiences of mine 20 years apart that made me feel that we are all one and we can connect. Cracks. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Leonard Cohen. 1991. At the door, I turn, see the vase of French tulips. Their pale green stems slice the space in perfect rhythmic arcs. For perception's instant, all the world's pieces fall into place. 2, 2021. A glass of red, a dock, my feet refreshed by cooling water. I sit alone, just me and sky. Oregon fires dilute blue to smoky gray cream. Only a brilliant disk intrudes, its outlines so sharp, a silkscreen print circle radiates red, orange, gold spectrum. A solid ray shimmers, vibrates across the bay, connects, enters me. We sit together. Thank you. And I deliberately didn't mention the sun, but that is this. It was an incredible day. The fires, the wildfires in the upper Northwest were burning like crazy. And our sky on the Cape was this milky gray, smoky gray. And then in the middle of that, it was almost sunset. And I went out on the dock and I sat alone. And this disc, it was like, if you've ever seen a silkscreen print where their outlines are so clear, this circle was so perfect and so bright. And it happened that the ray went right across the water and connected to me. I could feel that connection. And so by the end of the poem, I'm not sitting alone, just me and sky. We sit together. There was that connection. The same thing, that just seeing how French tulips arc can suddenly say, perfect, that's how it should be. And you get this feeling that there is an order which you may not have created, and you don't need to worry about who created it. Maybe nobody created it. Maybe it's there.
Surprised by joy and wonderment. Thank you, Karin.
You're welcome.
Thanks so
My
much.
pleasure.
That was great. I want to take a little activist moment to show you something. Let me see if I can that I've written down, and I remind myself over and over. This is the Capitol switchboard.
Dean, your volume is very low.
Is that better? Maybe. Capitol switchboard. 202-224-3121. Tell your Congress people what you think about all the things that are going on right now. We are an activist community. We celebrate that as a sacred responsibility. I have the Justice Department number over there as well, Merrick Garland. Tell them what we think about Julian Assange and about Stephen Donziger. That number, if you got a pen in hand, I will put these both in the chat during our next person. 202-224-3121, Capitol Switchboard. Tell Attorney General Merrick Garland to free Julian Assange and free Stephen Donziger. Okay, Susan, it was good to see you at the March for Palestine on the International Day of Palestinian Solidarity last Monday. That was a lovely event. There were maybe, let's say, 75 marchers. There was a band with us marching from Downtown Crossing all the way to the JFK building, and we handed some demands to representatives of both Warren and Markey's offices. Susan, it's yours.
Yeah, that's exactly why I raised my hand. I'm going to post in the chat a YouTube video that contains some footage of this event, quite a bit. It contains some other things as well. So it was great to see you there, Dean. Neither you nor I seem to be in this video, but that's perfectly okay. And it's worth a watch to see our city in I guess it was published nationally. So I'm putting it in the chat right now.
Yeah. And I will tell everybody that we are hosting Mazin Kumsia in January on a Wednesday night. I believe the date is January 12th. I can't, don't quote me, but look for Mazin. He is presented a couple of times physically here and also once virtually. He's the founder and director of the Palestine Museum of Natural History. He is a scientist, a biologist, and a marvelous presenter. And he will be with us physically on, I think it's Wednesday, January 12th. So look out for that program as well. We are just so blessed with so many rich programs to present to the city of Boston. Thank you, Susan. And there was another hand up. I see Joe. Joe, I'm asking you to unmute, and welcome, Joe. Let me spot.
Hey, Dean. Hey, everyone. I figure since Dean called me out a couple times, I might as well, speak briefly. I really just want to plug again. Dean mentioned it, but I really just want to give my own Shelter in Solidarity shout out for that event, the co-hosted event Community Church of Boston will be doing with Shelter in Solidarity on December 12th with Sophie Lewis. I've had a chance to chat with Sophie in the pre-production for this event, and she's incredibly sharp, really warm, I think really brings together theory and practice as a kind of socialist feminist, and really challenging, I think, some important dominant ideas that even on the left sometimes we don't think as critically about. So I think it's going to be really stimulating and generative, and I just hope everybody can check it out and maybe even invite people that don't usually come to these spaces who might be interested in this event. The only other that's on December 12th with Sophie Lewis and hosted by my co-producer, Mark Soderstrom, who's also terrific and has some great questions lined up. So I hope y'all can make it. The other thing I just wanted to say, building on one thing Dean said earlier about those, Dean, I'll just repeat my offer publicly here. I'm really enticed by all that undigitized footage you have at the church. And I have some UMass Boston students who, are always looking for research projects. I would love to try to connect some of them. If you're looking for that labor power to help actually make it happen, I'd love to follow up about that and help any way we can. I think, I teach a course on Boston history, social movements. So I'd really love to connect them with that. And also if anyone else has ideas for how to enrich a course on Boston, kind of radical history. I'm also teaching a course on war and American culture. I'll just put my email in the chat box. I'm not going to be able to hang out here very long right now, but I just wanted to, I know this is a great community, as Susan has already indicated a moment ago, that's involved in this kind of activism. I'd love to open up a conversation with anybody who wants to contribute to what we're doing over at UMass Boston. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Bring them on by. And this is an invitation to any one of you. We have the bizarre situation that the pandemic poses, which is stay away, be safe, be distant, and just join Zoom. But come on by, and we are doing a hybrid event. We have several people here joining us, and who will enjoy pupusas afterward from our cook, Luis Guzman. And so it's both come on by, and we'll all do it safely. We have quite a bazaar of holiday stuff for sale here, mostly from El Salvador, but we have a huge lot of used books that you can take for whatever contribution you wish to give to the work of Community Church of Boston. We will also be having Zoom bazaars at this same link Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. We had our first one last Friday, and I sold 6 oven mitts. They're a big hit. So Thank you, Joe. And let's see if there's anyone else with their hand up. Michael Hoey, did I say your name correctly? Join
Yes.
us, Michael.
Yes. So the thing I wanted to bring up, there was just a organizing meeting, Mass Peace Action, all day yesterday was doing their fall conference and trying to organize progressive groups. And so I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention that, there are other groups in the Boston area. The second thing I want to bring up is something that's kind of an awkward thing to bring up, but something I'm becoming aware of. And that's why, as an empire, are we constantly attacking people, and how it helps strengthen our dollar as the world's reserve currency to constantly being attacking nations. And the whole idea of the new Cold War with China and Russia and Iran and whoever else we're trying to fight simultaneously. A lot of it is based on staying on top. And I keep imagining what would happen if our empire fell and the other empires, raised up and took over. What would that do to our standard of living in the US? Because a lot of our wealth and the wealth of Western Europe is based on being able to beat people into submission and take their stuff in places like Africa and Latin America. And I don't mean to go on a diatribe here, but there is a definite benefit of being part of the American empire. And so I'm always thinking, okay, well, what's going to happen? Because it looks like our empire is falling apart. So, I mean, it's not like, will it fall apart? But how are we going to organize ourselves and come together and find a way to help people survive as our empire starts to fall?
Well, thanks for that. That's what we were going to be talking about a lot today. Thank you, Michael, for sharing with us. Is there anyone else who would like to have the floor?
Dean, you should bring the microphone closer to you.
How's that? Is there anyone else
Much
who would
better.
like to have the floor to say hello to your fellow church members and many visitors? I want to send a shout out especially to folks who are unable to be with us. This Zoom makes it possible for them to join us. And for those who don't do Zoom, we send out our greetings as well. There's the likes of Diane Lerman, the likes of John Mannheim. And we have in the room, Alan Clements. Come on up, Alan. Alan is masked, and he does, the rule is if you're talking, you don't have to be masked, but everybody else does. Yes, absolutely. Just come have a seat, Michael.
Well,
say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone. I'm in the control seat here.
Yeah, let me spotlight you.
Move closer to the microphone.
There he
Oh,
is.
there I am, yeah. Hi, I just wanted to respond to Michael's comment a moment ago. And he said, what's prompting me to say something, he said that our empire, our U.S. empire is falling apart. And I say it's not. I want to disagree with that, because our empire is based on violence. And they seem to rise to the occasion, whatever level of violence is necessary to keep things going the way they want to have that Western European white male rooted domination of planet Earth. And, that's dominating other cultures, it's dominating women, it's dominating minorities, and it's dominating white people that don't play ball. And, it's a system of violence, and that's why I'm a member of community church, because we're small, we're humble, we're limited in some ways, but, this is where we get a public forum to speak truth to power, to speak truth to the violence that's inflicted on everyone, to keep this whole empire glued together. And so thank you all for just listening to my comments. Thanks.
Thanks, Alan, and thanks for making the trip all the way from Maine to here to be with us today. And we're gonna have a powwow of the building committee afterwards and go over a bunch of stuff. Kevin, I know you love this song, and I pulled up the words. I'm not going to try to do it with a guitar, but here's Christmas in the Trenches. My name is Francis Tolliver. I live in Liverpool. 10 years ago the war was waiting for me after school. To Belgium and to Flanders, to Germany, to here, we fought for king and country we loved dear. 'Twas Christmas in the trenches where the frost so bitter hung. The frozen fields of France were still, no songs of Christmas sung. Our families back in England were toasting us that day. They're brave and glorious lads so far away. I was lying with my messmate on that cold and rocky ground, when across the lines of battle come a most peculiar sound. Says I, now listen up, me boys, each soldier strained to hear, as one young German voice sang loud and clear. He's singing bloody well, you know, my partner says to me. Soon, one by one, each German voice joined in harmony. The cannons rested silent, the gas clouds rolled no more, as Christmas brought us respite from the war. And when their song was finished and the reverent pause was spent, God rest ye merry gentlemen struck up some lads from Kent. The next they sang was Stille Nacht, 'tis silent night, says I, and in two tongues one song lit up that sky. There's someone coming toward us, the front line sentry cried. All sights were fixed on one lone figure trudging from their side. His truce flag like a Christmas star lit up the plain so bright, as he bravely strode unarmed into the night. Then one by one from either side walked into no man's land. With neither gun nor bayonet we stood there hand in hand. We shared some secret brandy, we wished each other well, and in a flare-lit soccer game we gave 'em hell. We traded chocolate, cigarettes, and photographs from home. These sons and fathers far away from families of their own. Young Sanders played his squeeze box, and they had a violin, this curious and unlikely band of men. Soon daylight stole upon us, and France was France once more. With sad farewells we each began to settle back to war. But the question haunted every heart that lived that glorious night, whose family have I fixed within my sights? 'Twas Christmas in the trenches where the frost so bitter hung, but the frozen fields of France were warmed when the songs of peace were sung. For the walls they'd built between us to exact the work of war had crumbled and were gone forevermore. My name is Francis Tolliver, and Liverpool I dwell. Each Christmas come since World War I, I've learned its lesson well. That the ones who call the shots won't be among the dead and lame, and on each end of the rifle we're the same. Song by John McCutcheon.
Dean, can I say a couple words to add to that?
Absolutely, Charlie, go ahead.
I remember reading about that incident, and after that, they couldn't get the troops to fight each other. They had to massively withdraw troops and replace the lines with fresh troops that hadn't gone through that experience to get the war going again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
So that's my little 2 cents on it. We hopefully when Jacques Perels will be speaking in January, he can add some more detail to that.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, the John McCutcheon song. He does a live version of that song where he talks about performing the song. I think in either Denmark or Norway, and that this group of I don't know, 5 or 6 really old guys. They show up at his concert like every night. He's there for 3 or 4 nights, and they come down and they watch. And finally, he asks them like, "Why are you guys here? What's going on?" And they said, "We were there." And it's it's just it's a live version. Came out in the '90s, I think, probably mid '90s, early '90s.
Yeah. So, folks, join us on January 3rd for Jacques Powell's talking about that era.
Dean, you got to bring the mic back to you.
Join us on January 3rd for Jacques Powell's talking about World War I. And that'll be a very interesting program. The musician that day is Rod MacDonald, who has written a whole series of songs about World War I for a play that he was involved in some decades ago. Rod MacDonald, wonderful player. It's just great to have him from Florida. I believe he will be joining us unless he's on tour somewhere. Well, we're getting to 12:30 or so, and the pupusas are not going to get cold on us. So maybe it's time, unless there's someone else who just wants to say hello to the community. I'm just going to scroll through everybody and see if there's anyone else.
Dean?
Yes, go ahead.
Dean? That's
Go ahead.
Lenny. I
Hi,
heard
Lenny.
that story. Hi, how are you doing?
Doing
I heard
great.
that story also. I heard that story that Alan just told about John McCutcheon in concert. And just wanted to say I heard that too.
All right. Lenny joins us from Brunswick, Maine. And
right.
I don't know if you heard, Lenny, but we're having Bruce Gagnon from Brunswick, Maine, join us on a program.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. So it's going to be a nice thing.
Alan knows him very well.
Maybe we can get some Maine peace activists to join us on that day. Mary Kate Small will help us rally those troops, so to speak. Yeah. If there is nobody else, we are going to say goodbye by saying, "Meeting in the building, soon be over. Soon be over, soon be over. Meeting at the building, soon be over. All over this world, all over this world, Lord, all over this world. Meeting at the building, soon be over. All over this world, farewell to Lynn Siegel and 1040 for Peace and Stan and Doug Bandow and Taylor Brown and Mary Cap and Inez Hodges and Doug Bandow and Evelyn Pinkerton and Barry Warner and Faye Strigler and Jim Casteris and Karen Klein and Richard Crowley and David Lewitt and Ruthie Kaplan, all of you. We are one community. Joan lives. Her name is Livingston, but she says she lives. Oh, does she ever live? And she is a big fan of David Rovics. And David Rovics, we thank you for being with us today. And we hope to see you again. And José Alemán and Sandra Ruiz Harris and her mama Josefina are all with us in church here today. And Alan Clemens and Luis Alonso Guzman. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. 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 Hallelujah. And Taylor Brown from Kansas City, Missouri, thank you for being with us today. Join us again.